The gaming space is growing really fast, from consoles to VR to cloud gaming and now blockchain gaming. If you don't know about all forms of gaming, then are you really a gamer? Blockchain Universe, virtual reality experts and gamers. Come to our events and join our community. Check us out at blockchainuniverse.com. Alrighty, hello. Welcome to another awesome VR Crypto Monday. Sorry, I'm just slightly adjusting myself here, but I'm super excited to be here with two awesome guests. And we're live in VR. We're awesome. How are you guys today? I'm with Reuben Yap from Zcoin and Rena Shah from Binance US. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Hey. I wish I could join in VR, but I shattered it in boxing.
You like my stuff? I didn't ask you guys.
Yeah, I love it.
Here. I feel like I need an avatar now because I am severely lacking.
For little pom-poms. So.
Yeah, I'm actually learning how to do full body tracking, so I can't wait until I start doing that.
Well, that's really awesome.
Oh, it looks like there's someone next to me. Hello. Anyways, I'm so happy you guys are here. So Binance, real quick, I just wanted to talk about that only because it just recently got in my home state of Florida, and I am ecstatic. Honestly, I can't really say anything by that because I love Binance, and I was really sad when it got, pulled from the U.S. market, and then we had to wait for Binance US, and then finally it's like, yay, it goes by state, but my state wasn't included, but it's here now, so yay. Rena, do you want to jump into that real quick?
Yeah, we're so thrilled to have launched in Florida last week. It is a particular special state for us because our CEO, Catherine Coley, that is her home state, so it was a homecoming for her that the entire team was so happy to be a part of. We are trying to expand to all 50 states as soon as possible, so get ready for us.
I'm super excited. Where are you guys planning on going next, if you don't mind me asking?
I can't really comment on that. It's all just in the hands of the regulators who are looking at our licensing and looking at our application. So I don't know where our next.
I understand. That is understandable.
How many states do you guys have, if I may ask?
Yeah, we currently operate in 38 states.
That's not too bad. You guys are almost there, almost at 50. So, Reuben, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say we cover about 75% of America, so we're getting there.
Oh, yeah, no, that's pretty close on, spot on. 30, you said 38 states, right?
Correct, and Puerto Rico. So.
Oh, you cover Puerto Rico. Oh, that's impressive. There's not a lot of places that cover Puerto Rico.
Yeah, big state. They are a big territory for us.
So, Reuben, I'm going to spin off to you real quick because we all know who Binance is, but not everybody knows about Zcoin. And I want you to explain a little more to the people, not only what Zcoin is, but what do you guys have to offer?
Sure. Basically, we are a privacy cryptocurrency. We've been around since about September 2016. And the basic idea is that we allow people to destroy their coins or burn them and to redeem them for brand new ones with no previous transaction, mint brand new ones out of thin air, but that has no previous transaction history. So that's how we protect privacy. We've been pioneers in the space for quite a while, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you were telling me something about you guys being one of the, I'm sorry, I forgot, it was on top of my mind, one of the first to remind me again, one more time.
Zcoin?
Yes.
Was it Zcoin?
Yeah, so expand more on that, because I'm not too familiar.
So yeah, the Zcoin protocol was the original protocol that was done by Ian Mears and Matthew Green. They're actually now with Zcash, and Zcoin was actually an earlier privacy protocol that we were the first ones to deploy and improve. And it has certain advantages over the Zero Cash protocol, which Zcash uses. So I guess we're kind of related, but kind of like cousins. But I think as of July 2019, we've actually moved away from Zcoin and moved to something called one of many proofs, which
Mm-hmm.
is what we call Sigma, and it's, I guess, a much improved version of Zcoin without trusted setup and much more scalable, I guess, to put in an easy way to say. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I know a few protocols. I don't know all of them, but I'll definitely have to look more into some of these protocols because I feel like there's a new one that pops up like every other month, but
Yeah, that's right.
it feels that way. But yeah, so I have a couple questions here because this is going to be a panel that's centered on the future of money and how I guess 2020 is moving towards that next phase of adoption for the mainstream. We've heard a lot that 2020 might be that year, especially because the whole crash with the market and people have been looking to invest into alternative currencies because governments are failing. So I really want to get into some of these, I guess, interesting topics. So I guess let's start off here. What are your thoughts on cryptocurrency going mainstream moving forward? I'll start with Rena and then let's go to Reuben.
I would say we're already inching towards that. If anything, we're looking at mainstream media talking about crypto on an everyday basis. You have industry giants from the institutional side, like Fidelity, commenting, I think last week, that they're going to start a Bitcoin or a crypto index and things like that. So you've already captured the attention of institutional players, and then retail people like all of us here. We've been enamored in this space for quite some time, and you're seeing new protocols being built left and right, all food related, maybe yam and pasta for anybody. But you're seeing all these things coming out where people are trying to find a different asset class to potentially invest in. And this is where crypto is primed for.
Okay, that's a fair answer. Reuben?
Sure. I mean, I think Rena's right. I mean, of course, I think maybe a couple of years back, we thought like mainstream adoption meant spendability of cryptocurrencies in your day-to-day life. But I know it seems to be like emerging more of an asset class to invest in, and I mean that's where we are at right now. If we're talking about mainstream adoption, we're just kind of like at the investment stage, kind of a little bit of a moon boy stage. In terms of real adoption, I think we're only kind of starting to see that. And like with Yam and all this stuff, I feel like a lot of people bored at home, and you have this really fancy ways to earn like 300% yield per annum instead of like 3% at your bank. So yeah, I mean that's my take on that.
Okay, so give me some pros and cons when it comes to cryptocurrency that you feel that people who are flooding into these industries might face when they look at it. Of course, there's volatility and all those ones, but give me some what you think.
I actually personally think that when we started cryptocurrency, we always talk like be your own bank. But people don't really have the means to be your own bank, like people lose their keys, people forget. I personally forgot my password.
It's accountability, you're right. There's a lot of people who aren't willing to actually handle all that money if they are making over a certain level.
That's right. And I think that's a real big impediment to adoption. I mean, that's why it's nice to talk about, oh yeah, I should have my own Casa node and everything. But I think realistically for adoption, there will be a niche. There's that option of, yeah, I want to be my own bank. But then you also have like the custodian options, the Coinbase option. And I think that's, you're going to see a mix of both, I think, realistically. Yeah.
That's fair. Rena?
I think for me, I see crypto's main advantage is that it's inclusive compared to anything else we've ever seen, right? Instead of you having to be an accredited investor for certain things or things that require more financial knowledge, like investing in the stock markets, crypto is a good place to start to get your first foot in through the door. And it's an area where you can do a small amount. So that's where I truly see the benefits of crypto. On that same token of be your own bank, I think instead of maybe being your own bank, you have access to a financial freedom for a banking system that's not necessarily the one that's run by your own government, but there are other custodians, other marketplaces like Finance US or things like that who will handle it for you, but doesn't necessarily is a central bank per se, you know?
Yeah, no, I completely understand and agree with you guys on that. I actually have a funny story to tell. So I was talking to one of my friends in VR, and she was telling me that she never would trust herself to hold on to her private keys. And I was just like, why is that? Why wouldn't you do it? And she actually almost ended up giving up a ledger to a thrift store because she hid it in one of her shoes. A safe place, right? So, over time, like you said, you forget things. Private keys and seed phrases are not something that you may remember on the top of your head. You have to store it somewhere. There's always that, backup. And she thought it was safe. Thankfully, she remembered after she dropped them off and they weren't sold. They didn't check the shoes. So she found the ledger in the shoe on the shelf, displayed. So, she was lucky, but how many, thousands of people, if not millions, as we grow, are going to encounter that. So, hey, we'll see when we get there. But I feel like we're on a good path. So we're seeing more established institutions. We're seeing banks, J.P. Morgan. These people are, jumping onto this, I guess, industry. Facebook Libra is another hot topic. How do you guys feel about, I guess, all this more traditional finance mixing in with the new world of cryptocurrency?
I feel like this keeps them on their toes. I think for a while, many years before, they almost ignored crypto and ignored what people were building and what people wanted to build. And now they are having to open their eyes and rethink that maybe this movement has legs and it might stick because people are looking for, one, the ease and scalability of using a blockchain. They're looking for the transparency. And so now they're wondering, hey, if we looked into it, maybe there is something that's worthwhile. I think the other thing that was kind of noteworthy, I think, is when in the US, when we had our stimulus checks come out, people were already contemplating whether that should have been done digitally, things like that. And now these institutions are wondering, have they missed their opportunity or should they start looking into it now?
Right. Yeah, I feel the same on that one, especially with the talks of the digital dollar in place. That's also really interesting, that one that I want to get into with you guys. What about you, Reuben?
Personally, as a privacy advocate, I am very concerned about, like entities like Facebook who haven't been like the bastions of privacy, kind of completing the loop with your financial stuff. They know where you are, they know who your friends are, they know who you talk to, and now, they even have WhatsApp.
That is very scary.
And
reality.
Yeah, it almost like when you start creating almost their own money. You can disguise it and say, oh, it's just representative of actual fiat currency, but the usability of it is almost as if they're creating a little nation state with Libra as their currency.
Sorry, guys, I just quickly added Lou there.
Hey, Lou. And stuff like JP Morgan, I think as far as I understand, they were aiming for it to be more like a settlement coin, not really at the retail level. Maybe that's in the future. So I don't think that would affect a lot of things. But I do think it's kind of like a contrast between, especially the CBDCs, I guess, which we'll go in later. It's a contrast between, the sort of free, open, decentralized model of original cryptocurrencies, and this, which is kind of like replicating almost like a government type of fiat system. And you're like, well, do we really need that? I do think it'll be great for adoption, but I don't think it's cryptocurrency in the traditional sense that we think about it. Yeah.
Those are all fair points. So another question, just kind of like ricocheting off that one. I kind of mentioned the digital dollar. How do you guys feel? A lot of people think the digital dollar will compete, but I don't think so, because it is something that, it's government oriented. You know, it's a little different than cryptocurrency that's more people driven. But how do you guys feel about the digital dollar?
I think it depends on what context it's used and who the issuer is. If it's issued by the government, I'm not sure how sustainable it will be as opposed to just traditional fiat. When it's issued maybe by a third party, I trust just because they're adhering to a different set of standards, whereas traditional governments, sometimes you don't always know where the money is being used for and how it's being transmitted. So I'm unsure on that aspect, but I do like the idea of stable coins being used because I don't think we should be printing dollars on paper, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not very efficient and it's kind of outdated. But what about you, Reuben?
I'm personally very scared of the end of, I would say, physical cash, right? I think one of the things that we kind of overlook about physical cash, even though it seems antiquated and stuff like that, it is very accessible. It's you can keep it under your bed, especially for the unbanked or for those who may not have access to banking services. But on top of that, you also have the element of privacy. It is private. You don't know where it's been. And we I think in America, especially, when people talk about the right to bear arms, to go against the government if they're acting like dicks.
America.
Yeah. And
are they allowed to say that, Annalise?
I'm just hosting here. I don't have control over anyone's speech.
But I was saying, you have the right to bear arms, but if you can get cut off from the financial system, that's really, really scary. I mean, you're taking a look at what's happening in China, right? And yeah, China and US are different countries, but both, I think you're seeing a move in the world that we're moving towards more authoritarian stuff, and the tool like money that you can cut people off is a very, very powerful tool, and I think that's very dangerous.
It's a slippery slope.
Well, what about China's? I think China looks like it's going to be the first country to introduce digital currency. The DCEP. Do you think? I'm very excited about that because I think, gosh, you're going to be 1 billion people who have digital wallets.
Yeah, but if you take a look at the DCEP, and then you combine that with your social credit score, that's a very scary combination. And let's face it, the digital dollar, the DCEP isn't something to liberate people with. To me, it's a way of I want to challenge the US dollar while retaining control and retaining, basically.
Well, right. When somebody has a digital wallet, they can't get your coin. So how are we going to get? How come nobody has wallets? The number of people that have wallets is zero.
The thing with these systems is not as if you're sovereign over your own, let's say, cryptocurrency. Yeah, no one can get in, but the government can, and that's a very important difference. Right?
I'm right
there. That's a scary thought.
It's just interesting to think about all those people with a digital wallet. Now, the Chinese might not be able to deal with any other, who knows what rules you're going to have. But I think if it's successful in China, I think that will certainly spur other countries as well to doing it faster. And I think the more people who have digital wallets, the better it is for the industry.
Do you think it would be more of a closed loop type system? So if they did digital dollars in America, it's more of how the government is sending you money if they owe you money or for whatever purposes, maybe IRS tax purposes, but then the end user may choose to convert that or either redeem that back into fiat or choose to spend it in a way where maybe their transactions aren't seen. I'm just curious.
Yeah, my guess is Binance knows more than I do. I spend actually a lot of time in the Bitcoin universe. I've actually seen people from the Fed talk. And to me, the most interesting thing, I just think of it as being a digital dollar, exactly like everything else, except for instead of a paper dollar. Now they know, to Reuben's point, what you're spending it on.
Right.
Scary, right? You heard the stories of the people in Wuhan getting locked into their apartments if they had bought cold medicine in the last month. Right, and that's incredibly scary. But the sad thing is 99.9% of the people really don't care. They think if you're not doing anything wrong, then it doesn't matter. But obviously we think differently here. The most interesting to me when I've heard the Fed talk is the fact that they're not going to allow smart contracts on top of the digital dollar. Which obviously leaves massive opportunity for the rest of the world on top of all the other advantages of not being the U.S. government.
I do think it's probably, as I haven't actually heard this, that they are not going to allow smart contracts, but I think that's actually probably prudent. I mean, the last thing you want is people creating little DAOs here and there. Next thing, everyone's savings get sucked. Totally. Definitely. But like all the systems, they don't really seem to be talking about privacy, right? And that to me is like, wow, okay, you guys not really thinking about it, or we'll implement it sometime down the road. I think to me that's a prerequisite, that you need to do it now rather than let's think about it later. And there's going to be kickback. There's going to be like the government. So like you're taking a look at the administration right now, they're like anti-privacy in many cases, right? There's even like a lot of acts. The act to ban privacy or to insert backdoors for law enforcement. And it all sounds great and fine and dandy, but we have to think, is it actually for law enforcement or is it about consolidation of power? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, look, unfortunately, I've got to go, but thanks a lot to both of you for coming. And Annalise, awesome job. Every week she really gets some awesome people. So it'd be a great show. And I look forward to watching it on the recording.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Lou.
I thought it was at 6:30, Annalise.
What was it?
I thought it was at 6:30. My bad. Because
no,
I really
was
looking forward to joining.
Thanks, Lou. Alrighty. So, where were we? Digital dollar. So I kind of want to spin off from there and talk about where, previously before Corona, I didn't think that the U.S. dollar was going to devalue at the rate that it has been. It's been devaluing way more than I felt like it was. Now, in the year 2040, where do you guys feel like, the dollar will be in comparison to cryptocurrency?
I feel like I would be more bullish on Bitcoin than the dollar. That's for sure in 2040.
Right. I mean, we're bullish on Bitcoin now in 2020. But let's get, another 20 years. But what about you, Rena? Or go ahead, continue, Rena.
Yeah, no, it's hard for me to tell where the dollar will be in 2040. I think it really just depends on what strides the country as a whole takes towards adopting digital currencies, blockchain technology, whether we're still tolerant towards them and even more so accepting towards that in 2040 or not, for me to comment. For the dollar, it's clearly currently weakening now. I don't know if it will catch its stride back in 20 years from now, or if other countries' currencies might be more superior. It's really just hard for me to tell. The one thing I would wonder is that my background is actually in oil, so I wonder if oil is currently quoted on the dollar standard, and it's been like that since probably the 70s. I do wonder if oil will move off the dollar standard, because if that happens, then the entire world has lost faith in the American dollar.
Well, if you recall, they were trying to move to the euro. One of the countries. They're trying to move to the euro. So I don't know. But that got shut down. Politics. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah,
to me, I would wonder if they ever would do some sort of basket stable coin type currency where it's adopting more, like backed by more than just one fiat currency. That would be more superior to me, and hedge some of the risk on the US dollar. But curious to know what you guys think.
Well, I was faithful when the Petro had came out for Venezuela, but then it kind of was a flop, unfortunately.
I probably shouldn't comment on that, because to be honest, I know a lot about the oil reserves in Venezuela. The oil company I used to work for had oil fields all in Venezuela, and to me, tying an asset or tying a currency to an asset that you may not be able to recover and is also going out of style, not really the wisest of choices.
Okay, noted. What about you, Reuben?
Funny. I don't know. I mean, just to add to the Venezuela point, like a little point, the price of oil went negative. I wonder what that means to the value of your money. But, oh no, I kind of lost it. Could you repeat the question a little bit again? Sorry.
So it was supposed to be where you think the value of the dollar will be in 2040 in comparison to crypto.
I think, as Rena said, it's really hard to tell. Actually, it is really the trajectory of whether people would believe in the US dollar, right? I mean, right now the US is very, very confident that there's no alternative right now. Like, I think there's been several statements to the fact, like, we're the only country that can print lots of money and not be like Zimbabwe. I think that's a lot of arrogance there, and of course backed with the strongest military and economy right now.
Right.
I don't know if that's going to be the case in 20 years. I mean, take a look at China, that they are very active as well. But, in terms of cryptocurrencies, it really depends whether people start valuing it. And I do think I'm generally quite bullish that people do realize, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be so bullish on like government currency, right? I don't think it's going to go away. I don't think government cryptocurrencies government currencies are going to go away, but I do think that we're going to see a state where cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies are going to kind of coexist, because my ideal kind of vision is that cryptocurrencies are going to keep a check on fiat currencies, because if cryptocurrencies become mainstream enough that it's accessible to everyone, governments can't just simply print money willy-nilly, because now there's that alternative there, right? If you're going to not act responsibly here, people are going to shift to something else. And I do think there's especially with there's that meme where Powell is like printing money. I think that's kind of like catching a lot of people. You ask someone on the street and people say the government's printing money. That's actually a recent recent realization of people, and I think that's going to change in the next 10 years or so.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty young. I'm 23 years old, believe it or not. Look at this avatar body. But they don't really teach you about finance like that in school. They don't teach you that the government has been printing your money. They don't talk about it. It's not in the textbooks. And I feel like because we're shifting more in the area of, digital technology, we're moving away from, the industrial area, and we're going more online. I feel like people are starting to realize not only how money works, but that governments are a business, and that countries are businesses, and that all of this are, we are a business and a liability to the government. I didn't know any of that until I got into this space. So I definitely agree with you when it comes to people realizing what's going on. I want to talk about privacy real quick, because 2020 has been the year of privacy, DeFi, and now yield farming. So tell me, let's expand more on privacy, because you're right. There is a lot of lack of privacy in the space, and not a lot of people even know whether their wallets are secure or not. They just go based off it because it says someone said so. But I'm gonna let you start off with that one, Reuben.
Yeah, so I mean, right now, like in general, and even in cryptocurrencies, everyone's kind of like saying, "Oh yeah, privacy is really important." But so far, the approaches haven't been really holistic. They are kind of like, oh yeah, there's this tag on that you can use, and even like a privacy cryptocurrency like Zcash, or even like us right now, which is privacy opt-in, where you kind of have to choose privacy as opposed to Monero, which is privacy on by default. I think that's probably like we have played around with it for like around almost 4 years, and we think that right now what the space needs is like if you believe in the original tenets of cryptocurrency that is supposed to be unseizable, supposed to be private, supposed to be within our control, you definitely need privacy. And for privacy to work, you need a significant proportion of people wanting to use it. And I think the idea is that if everyone's like kind of using it, if it's by default, you can, you're not standing out, right? Because if I say like I choose privacy, oh, you must be doing something wrong, But if everyone is doing it, like if everyone's just using cash, right? No one says like, oh, you pay me in dollars, oh, you must be like a drug dealer. No, because everyone's using it, right? So that's why like Zcoin has kind of pivoted, and we're going to be moving to like privacy on by default, but you can opt out to transparency. It's kind of flipping it on its head. And I think that's quite powerful because you have all the advantages. Because, even though it doesn't really make sense, even though the FATF travel rule doesn't ban privacy coins per se, regulators like to feel like, yeah, we have transparent layer. That's why Zcash has regulatory approval in the US and Monero probably doesn't yet, right? And so we're trying to kind of like be in between. We're going to have like wide amounts of people using privacy. That means like maybe 70-80% of all transactions in private, but you have that ability to have that transparent layer, so exchanges can still say, yep, we're using no privacy, even though that doesn't really kind of work that way. But it makes regulators feel good about themselves.
That's fair. So I want to spin off the same questions. What about in terms of sustainability?
To me? Or what do you define? What do you define by sustainability in cryptocurrencies in general?
So for me in cryptocurrency, for something to be sustainable, it has to have good privacy. It needs to be reliable. It needs to be the fungibility doesn't matter actually. It needs to be more or less transparent. It needs to just work. It needs to work as money.
I mean, right now, I don't think we're there yet. I mean, take a look. I still think Lightning is quite hard to use.
Yeah. Sorry, Lightning Network. I love Bitcoin, but we need to fix the wallet and the code and all that. It's too much for me. I've tried.
Or like Ethereum fees being like $10, $20. I think we're really early days. I think one of the mistakes that we shouldn't be like, oh yeah, let's take a look at the state right now and say, yep, this is unusable. I'm actually very bullish. I think that these problems will be solved in the next few years. I mean, there's so much development happening in the space on the sense of the technology maturing. I mean, there's going to be mess ups along the way, and we have experienced that. But I think as long as we survive, as long as we keep innovating, I do think that the tech and the whole idea of it is going to be sustainable. But yeah, interested to hear what Rena has to say about that. Well, she's in the business, so she has to make sure that it survives.
So for me, I agree with what you both say. It's not quite currency or something that I could easily use my crypto to buy things right now. It's not necessarily also the fees don't make sense for the transaction for when you're spending, especially with gas fees and such. For me, I see the first layer of usability probably coming from a card, something of the sort that you can spend your crypto easily using maybe a crypto debit card. I think Fold is working on one. Swipe is, I think, just launching one in the US or getting ready to launch one. So things like that would be the first layer that I'm looking for. And then to see, once you have that option and if it's easy to use, how many people actually use it? Do people want to spend their crypto, or are they still viewing it more as a safe haven investment asset? I might be willing to spend some of my coins if there may be a stable coin, but would I actually spend my Bitcoin? Unclear for me.
Unclear. So we got a question from the chat here. How will BTC compensate for the fact that it may never obtain the market cap that fiat does, even with the halving? How do you guys feel about that?
I'm not even sure how to start answering that question. So I think BTC is special in the case that it will never be like fiat in the sense that it is a fixed supply. If you think about fiat in not only America, but globally, there's just too many different fiats running around that there's no way Bitcoin will ever compare to that. With the halvening, there is a scarce supply, so Bitcoin will, in theory, should accrue more value. Will fiat ever accrue more value? I think we're already hitting like inflationary talks in the US and things like that. So I don't know.
So I kind of want to like throw something out there. Reuben, I'll let you answer the question too. But the one thing about Bitcoin is that, or cryptocurrency in general, it's divisible to more than 2 digits behind the decimal. It's up to 18. So you can fraction it up. One day, one Satoshi, may God or the universe allow it, will be worth $1, and I'll be rich and I'll be so happy. But that's just it. The smallest unit of a Bitcoin is a Satoshi, and it's divisible by 18 places. So there's a lot more than you think. There is a finite amount, but it's the way you can split it up is what makes it beautiful. But Reuben, give me what you got.
Well, I mean, when we talk about market cap, we still talk about it. Oh yeah, how much US dollars, right? I think it's unfortunately the problem, and as you said, the divisible problem. I think it's more about BTC, Bitcoin. As long as Bitcoin has no, I would say, like issues with reaching a very high market cap. I wouldn't say like the whole world's fiat currency. Maybe like some countries' fiat currencies. But at the end of the day, the divisible thing is that although you can go to 18 decimal points or whatever it is, the fees have to make sense, right? So what if I can go to 18 decimal points, but it's going to cost me like 3 decimal points or 4 decimal points to make a transaction, right? And unless that fee can go down somehow, I don't know whether it's through layer 2 or something else or gigabyte or terabyte blocks, I don't know, right? But that has to come down for the 18 decimal points to actually make sense. For us, who cares about the 18? We're like, oh yeah, it's dust. If it's at dust level, yeah. I think that's my personal point. I think I just wanted to add to it because like Rena talked about scarcity, and this is just like a pain point that I kind of wanted to address. It's not just about the scarcity, it's actually about the predictability, because some people criticize some currencies which have a tail emission and say like it has an infinite supply, which is yes, technically true, but it's not the same as the US dollar because there's still kind of like a fixed, like a predictable inflation rate. Like let's say like something like Monero has a tail emission, right? That X years from now, the inflation rate is going to be like this or roughly like that, right? It's not something that humans can tweak. And that's the real difference, right? Rather than with fiat, it's basically the Federal Reserve tweaking the knobs here and there and can decide to print more money. And that's the real difference. It's not just about scarcity. It's actually about removing the human control of it. And that's why gold has value until you start mining gold from asteroids and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, people don't confuse scarcity versus the ability for humans to interfere with it. I think that's the real difference between, let's say, a proper decentralized cryptocurrency as an asset as compared to something like fiat. Yeah.
That's a very interesting view on it. I like that. I like all of it. All right, I have a question from one of the people in VR here. How can I onboard onto Binance US and onto Zcoin? So each of you go ahead.
Sure. If they're going to onboard on Binance US, first, are you in the US? That will be question number one. And are you in the state that we operate in? If so long as you are, it's a really easy onboarding process. You're going to just create a username and password through our website, and then you'll just go through KYC. There's 3 levels for depending on if you only want to do crypto to crypto only. If you need a higher crypto to crypto limit, or if you also want to have the ease of on-ramp through USD. But it's a very simple process. It does not take long, and we would welcome to have anybody come join us.
Ooh. Reuben?
Yeah, so I'm assuming you're from the US. If you talk about Binance US, I think currently there's something called, I have no idea to pronounce it, Sequoia X. It used to be called VertBase. And they do have like direct US dollars to Zcoin conversions. So that's one way. Obviously, if you're a bit more on the wild side, on the Ethereum side, there will soon be ways to, do something like buy Zcoin on Uniswap. Even though we're not Ethereum token, we'll announce that over the coming weeks. But there will be ways to trade or like buy Zcoin from DEXs. But if you're talking about US dollar to direct Zcoin on ramps, I think Sequoia X is the way to go until Binance US loves us. Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question. So I have one other question for you guys. So when it comes to the future of money, we can't really predict what's going to happen. Nobody predicted Corona. Nobody predicted oil is going to, negative like we discussed earlier. These are things that can only be speculative. Give me from here to the end of 2020. I know you guys are super bullish, but I guess give me your end of year speculations or thoughts on the market in terms of gains and or privacy.
Reuben, I'll let you go first.
Oh no, I wanted you to go first.
He's like,
so wait, privacy and what was the other element that you wanted?
So in terms of just overall like market speculation from here to the end of the year and privacy and the way we're moving from here to the end of the year.
I don't know. I although like Zcoin isn't DeFi, but kind of integrating into DeFi. It's really exciting, but it's also very unsustainable in many ways. Like, I do think that, this may be controversial and I'm going to get hate for this, but a lot of this yield farming stuff is, I would say, complex money games without as much as a moral hazard as traditional money games. That's going to be like very harsh, but it is basically like, we've been talking about criticizing governments about printing money, but a lot of these systems are just printing money. You're creating tokens out of thin air, slap something like governance on it and say, yep, that has value. I don't think that's sustainable in the long term. But that being said, I'm actually very bullish on the tools that are being built on DeFi, like decentralized loans, DEXs. All these things are really, really exciting. But in all this space, although like we're talking about DeFi and stuff like that, none of it has privacy, it's like, I can look at an account. I know when Alameda or FTX is like buying sushi, the sushi token. I know when they're exiting and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. But I do think that, if you're talking about, growth in the DeFi space, the privacy hasn't really gotten there. And I don't think it's going to be there quite soon. That's why I actually believe that, when we're talking about, like, there was this really, really controversial post, like privacy as a feature, not a product. I do believe that if you want like real privacy, you do need something like a privacy-focused cryptocurrency like Zcoin, Zcash, or Monero, where we can make all the adjustments on the privacy side, because it's not easy to strap tack on privacy on something like Ethereum or like in the whole DeFi space. So I think that we're going to see a resurgence of interest in privacy because, of course, I would like that, but that's just my prediction there. Yeah.
I hope you don't get hate mail.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, all the Yamly, the Yam.
The Yamly. Oh no. Oh God, Rena.
I think from my side, what I probably will see coming or where I anticipate things going, I think people are interested in DeFi, but it's not necessarily user friendly to use. You really have to know quite a bit how to leverage your DeFi and then yield farm it out and then do it again and again to see that. I think more so than anything else, people are going to want simplicity, probably just through staking or something a little bit even simpler as just stacking your stats, things like that. I would see that being more prominent from now until the end of the year, especially for the time of what US is still in. We're still in a pandemic. Our economy has taken a hit and people are just trying to get a little bit more than where they started, and they want to see a yield that's easy to do and in a simple way that they aren't going to lose everything. So I think more and more people maybe want to become validators of networks or protocols.
That's a fair analysis. Stacking sats is always my favorite thing to do. I heard a funny thing the other day on Twitter. People are like, crypto Twitter is either hodl if Bitcoin's high or stack your sats if it's low. And it's funny because that's exactly what you see. It's either hodl, stack your sats if Bitcoin's up or Bitcoin's down. But those are both fair, analysis. I feel the same. So real quick, I kind of want to clarify. Somebody had messaged me in altspace. I said 18 decimals, and I can't believe that someone from Zcoin and Binance US is sitting here talking with me and didn't correct me. I meant 8, guys. I'm sorry. I carried the 1 over. Bitcoin has 8 decimals behind it, not 18. My lovely co-host here, they don't care about me, but it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, guys, so we're getting ready to wrap it up here. Tell me where the people can find you if they want to pick some more of your brains, where they can find your wonderful faces.
Sure. I'm on Twitter. My handle is Rena P. Shah. You can also find me anywhere on Binance, especially if you email the BD email. That actually goes directly to me.
Right. I'm on Twitter at Reuben Z. Our website at zcoin.io. We also have a Twitter account at Zcoin Official, but we have a very active Telegram community that's also bridged to Discord. But all the links are on zcoin.io. Yeah.
Zcoin.io. I love their interface, and I love Binance interface. Always such friendly interfaces to use. Guys, if you guys are interested in checking out those websites, or again, follow them on Twitter. I appreciate you guys for joining us. I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a great conversation. I don't know how you feel about it, but it was nice talking to you guys and meeting you guys.
I really enjoyed myself. Yeah, thank you so much.
It's nice to always hear the privacy perspective, which I don't always get to hear. So I'm thankful that Reuben was able to school me on some things.
Yeah, no, this was a good matchup. I like the privacy and the exchange, just pairing up and having a good combo.
Don't ban us.
Oh, okay. Let's have you guys back on. For right now, we're going to sign off. Thank you, everyone who tuned in to both VR and on the stream. Make sure you guys find Rena and Reuben on Twitter and or on their websites. Guys, you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday. Thank you guys for joining. Take care, guys.
Appreciate it.
Bye.